Hey everybody, we are at Emporium Brewing Co. on Tennyson Street in beautiful Denver, Colorado. Enjoying a bit of a tiramisu stout this morning. Excited, we're going to talk to Sara, owner and mini hat wearer. Let's go say hi to her. Hey Sara!
Hello!
Liz.
Sara, nice to meet you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sara, owner of the Emporium Brewing Company on Tennyson and 42nd in Denver, Colorado native. I work behind the bar. I do our events. I do all of our finances. All those kinds of things.
The wearer of all the hats. Well,
Yes.
It looks beautiful. We're really excited to check it out.
Thanks.
And learn a little bit more about what you got going on here.
Let's do it.
Let's check out the brew house first. Love the signs, by the way.
Yeah, it's not actually
Hilarious.
condemned or
Yeah.
quarantined. You know,
They would be
just
white and
Spooky
have-
season. Let's get this out of the way. There we go.
Tell us what you're working with
Yeah,
here.
so this is our brew house, 10-barrel system from Alpha in Nebraska.
Okay.
3-vessel system.
Okay.
We have a cold liquor tank, hot liquor tank right behind you, 6 fermenters.
Nice.
So 2 here, a couple more in the back, a lot of stainless in a little bit of space.
It looks good.
Thanks.
How many brews are you doing a week?
Really just depends. In like peak of summer, probably 2 or 3. Winter, maybe one every other week. Just
Okay.
kind of depends on what we do. We don't do a ton of distribution, but we're kind of starting
Okay.
to.
Okay.
So that'll definitely increase things for us. We do about
Sure.
500 barrels a year.
Okay.
So
And then your husband, Greg, is
Yes.
the head brewer.
Yep, he's our only brewer.
Only brewer. Okay.
Yep, he has been our only brewer since we opened.
Okay.
There was about a 6-month period where we had an assistant. Her name was Elena. And she helped for a little while and then got a full-time brewing gig elsewhere, which made sense because we just weren't at that capacity yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is his domain. He loves it. And yeah, this is our little
Okay.
Gosling canning line.
Awesome.
So we've done a lot of cans through that. I can't even remember the number at the moment.
I'm sure it has a ticker tracker somewhere.
It does, yeah, somewhere.
Or whatever you call it.
Yeah, so we can all of our beers. My sister is actually our graphic designer.
Oh,
so
awesome.
she does all of our labels and a lot of our marketing material for us. So she helps me out with all that stuff.
Kudos to her. I
Yeah.
love the branding.
Yeah,
It's
thanks.
really nice,
She's
yeah.
had her own business for 15 plus years.
Okay.
So she's can't beat her pricing. And yeah, she's great. So
Who came up with the logo then? Was that her?
she did, yes. Yep. We kind of came up with the name along with Greg's sister, so kind of like a family
Sure.
helping there. And then, yeah, she did the logo, and she's done a lot of other stuff for us too. All of our stickers, a lot of our merch.
Sure, makes sense.
So, yeah.
So with the brewing, I know you have a lot of variety on tap, which
Mm-hmm.
is pretty awesome. Are you doing any barrel aging or just mostly?
We have in the past.
Yeah.
We just don't have a ton of space.
Sure.
So we've done a couple barrel-aged beers in the past, but we really kind of try and focus more on sessionable beers.
Okay.
So lower ABV, that way you can kind of come and hang out and have more than one.
Yep.
And barrel-aged beers don't really fit that category.
Yep.
So yeah, we've done a couple, but just not really something we've done for a while.
Sure, and I think it makes a lot of sense, right? Tennyson has a lot of room,
Mhm.
it's a great walking score, right?
Right.
So if you want to get from one place to the next, it's hard,
Yeah,
hard to
and
do that
there's
without a session.
A few other breweries around. So
Yeah.
if you want to kind of hit them all and check them all out.
Exactly.
We want you to remember being here.
Yeah. Weird.
Yeah, right?
Do you get a lot of new people coming through?
Mhm.
Yeah.
We do. We get a lot of, there's some Airbnbs around here.
Okay.
So we get a lot of people that are
Makes
in
sense.
for concerts. We get a lot of Red Rocks concert people,
Awesome.
which is great. So we've actually started a shuttle to Red Rocks for some shows,
Very
which
cool.
is cool. But yeah, we get a lot of out-of-towners that are just in for sporting events or concerts or
That's
just
great.
to visit.
I would love to stay in an Airbnb on Tennyson.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great.
I feel like they kind of think this is what Denver is all like, though, which
Yeah.
it's fine. If that it's great. We love Tennyson.
If that's where you were, then sure, that's Denver.
Right. That's true. No, it's a great neighborhood. We love being down here for
Very
sure.
Cool. Very cool. And this is year 5.
Year 5. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else you want to highlight about the brewing? I think sessionable is fantastic. Anything that maybe?
I mean, we just they're sessionable, so lower ABV, but that doesn't mean that they're lacking in flavor. Yeah. I think a lot of people might think that. I'm drinking the honey lager. It's delicious. We really love making light, clean, crisp lagers. Tiramisu stout.
Yes, full of flavor.
We have sours. The thing I love about our sours is you can taste the fruit that we use. We don't use extract or anything like that.
Awesome.
One sour that we do is Selenia. It's a cucumber basil kettle sour.
Okay.
And we hand peel and process like 200 pounds of cucumbers.
If you need any, I know where there's a bunch.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to give you 200 pounds of cucumbers from my garden.
It's a labor of love for sure.
But
you can taste it, like you can taste the real cucumber flavor and the fresh squeezed lemon that we use. And we use about a pound of basil, and that's a nice complement to it. So Greg is a phenomenal cook. Lucky for me, because I am not. And so he really likes to meld those flavors like he does when he's cooking.
Sure. So. Are you sourcing a lot of your ingredients locally then?
Yes, we do get a lot of them. Our coffee comes from a roastery in Colorado Springs. A lot of our malt we're still getting from BSG, so it's European malts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Our hops come from Hopheads, which is in Michigan.
Okay.
So maybe not necessarily all Colorado, but U.S. at least.
Yeah.
So
very cool. Very cool. So tell us about Emporium. Take us back to the beginning.
Sure.
How do we get a name? How do we get a brewery started here?
So Greg and I are both from Colorado. We went to CSU. We met right after, or right before I graduated, actually, at the Budweiser Event Center, which I think is funny because we own a craft brewery now. We were both interns for the Colorado Eagles at one point or another because we were business and marketing majors at CSU. And Greg just started homebrewing in college as a hobby, as a lot of people do.
Yep.
His parents have their own business. My sister, my dad have their own businesses. It was just kind of always something we wanted to do, but we didn't really know what we wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then the job that he had with the Budweiser Event Center wanted to send him to the East Coast. We're not East Coasters. It's just not our vibe. So he wanted to get a new job, and I was like, what do you want to do? And he was like, well, I love beer. Okay, so what does that mean then? Yeah. And so he tried at a lot of Colorado breweries to get in the door, and they didn't want to take him because he didn't have any experience. Mm. So Rogue in Oregon, in Newport, was like, if you want to move to the Oregon coast, come on out here. We'll teach you, how to be a brewer, all that. And since we were from Colorado, we were like, let's try something new.
Yeah,
it's a good transfer.
So we moved to Oregon. Very wet, very rainy, very dreary. We were there for about a year and a half. He started on the packaging line, worked his way up to being a cellarman, kegging, all of that stuff.
Yep.
Oregon was a rough transition for me. I just didn't really like it. Not that I didn't like Oregon itself. I just didn't really care for where we lived. We were right by the ocean, but it was wet and gray all the time. Yeah. So I wanted to come back to Colorado. So we came back to Colorado. We ended up in Castle Rock, and he started working at Rockyard.
Yep.
So it was right when they were starting to do their bigger production and distribution. Mm-hmm. So he was able to go from a big brewery like Rogue down to like a mid-sized brewery, which we thought was good for what we wanted to eventually do, so he could get that experience.
Sure.
So he was their assistant brewer, ended up becoming their head brewer.
Nice.
He was there for 5 years. Won a few different awards with them. And then I worked at Wells Fargo. I was doing, all of that stuff for 5 years as well. And then it was just about time to get out of the corporate world. And I had my marketing experience, the finance experience I needed, and it was just time to do our own thing. So we started looking and planning. During that time, we were all still planning the Emporium, came up with the name. So the Emporium comes from a few different reasons. We're obviously big movie buffs, pop culture fans. So Dazed and Confused is where all of the kids hang out in that movie. It's the pool hall, it's the Emporium. Greg grew up in a really small town, northeastern Colorado, and the Quonset or barn that they hung out in and drank underage. They
I
called that
always
the
throw
Emporium.
myself under the bus with underage
Yeah,
things. It's okay.
I mean, we all did it. I'm also from a small town.
Yeah.
Like, it
What else
happened.
do you
Sorry,
do?
Mom. And so they called that the Emporium, and then the Emporium just kind of implies a little bit of everything, and so that allows us to have like a wide variety of beers.
Sure.
So it just kind of fit for that, what we wanted to do with this space. And we wanted to be a neighborhood brewery. And so we searched all over Denver and found Tennyson, actually looked at the space that Farrell is in first.
Okay.
And realized that just wasn't big enough. And then found this spot and fell in love with it. And it was just a brick building and dirt floors.
Wow.
And so we were able to get in very early and create the space that we wanted.
So take us back. That was 5 years ago, right? Because you just celebrated your 5 year.
That was probably more like 6 years ago, to
6
be
years
honest.
ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Was it hard finding a spot down here at that time? There was a couple different options. I feel like it definitely boomed a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't a
ton.
ton on Tennyson
Yeah.
necessarily. We looked in Rhino, not really, the neighborhood that we were looking for. We looked in a couple other places, but being across from the park and going to CSU and having that old town feel,
Sure.
Tennyson kind of gave us that feeling as well.
Sure.
So yeah, it just kind of made sense for us when we found it.
Yeah. And what a great neighborhood.
Yeah,
And
it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
And it is going to continue to change, but it's amazing.
Yeah. A lot of people coming through. How do you stay so involved with the community? I know you hold a lot of events.
Mm-hmm.
Is that your connection in? Like, are people always stopping in, or do you have to throw the big neon sign on, or is it easy just to kind of come right in?
I mean, it took a while for us to get kind of our name out there, and we are kind of tucked off the street. So during COVID, we were able to close our parking lot down, and we put those
cool.
clear igloos out there,
Nice.
and we called them our
Yes.
beer bubbles.
Yes.
We had those for probably about 1.5 years or so, give or take, and that drew a lot of attention to us because people
Sure.
were like, "What are those things?"
Yeah.
So that really helped. And then right around that time too, I joined the board for the Tennyson Berkeley Business Association.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I'm still on the board. And so I'm making sure that Emporium is, active in a lot of the community events, but also meeting other business owners. And so
Absolutely.
we've done a lot of, the brewing industry does a lot of collaborations
Yep.
with other breweries, but we've tried to do a lot with other businesses on the street. So we did a collaboration with Berkeley Untapped, which is a little neighborhood bar right across the street from us. We brewed a beer called Won't You Be My Neighbor? We've done the gelato and beer pairing with Gelato Boy. We do a beer and pie pairing with the Legacy Pie on the street.
Sure.
We've done events with Cat Cafe, Farrell.
Sure.
So
I love Farrell, by the way. We were just in there recently.
it's a great
What a
store.
cool
You had to
little
get-
store.
It's a great
You had to
store.
get rain gear
To go to Scotland. I was like, I don't have a rain
Oh,
jacket. I live
yeah.
in Colorado.
Right. Yeah. That's one of those.
Just like no.
Like a poncho or
Yeah.
what do you mean?
I lucked out. I got a really, I don't know, it was North Face and it was kind of warm. It wasn't just a shell.
Sure.
$15.
Yeah, they
That's
have all
like-
the used gear.
Yes.
There's some great deals in there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Awesome. So we've got Halloween coming up here at the end of the month. Do you
Yeah.
have any big events coming up for then that people should know about?
I mean, we have Halloween themed trivia, of course, the night before Halloween. And then, not a ton right around Halloween. Tennyson Street, we do the Fall Fest,
Okay.
which is October 19th. So that's kind of coming up soon, but definitely before Halloween. I mean, not a ton of Halloween events per se, just more making sure that the tap room is festive and,
got the vibe.
Kind of spooky-ish.
Oh yeah, terrified walking in.
I know.
Talk
Be careful.
to us about the artwork then. You kind of told me earlier, but tell me
Yeah.
again about the mural behind us here.
So this mural is by Drew Button. He worked with Greg and Mike at Rockyard
Okay.
and labeled or did all their can art.
Awesome.
And we knew when we were opening a brewery that we wanted a mural, but we did not know any muralists. We knew Drew, and we were like, hey, would you be interested in doing a mural? And he was like, well, I've never done one before. And I was like, well, we've never opened a brewery before. So perfect. We have this big wall. It's your canvas. Feel free to do whatever you would like with it.
Okay.
And so there's a description of it on our website, but it's just kind of like, his description of it is, the black and green lines behind it are like the standards of beer, but the little pieces are exploding out and kind of making it your own and changing it and doing your own recipes and pathing your own way kind of thing.
I love that.
It's funny because we've been here for 5.5 years, and we'll have people come in and they're like, wow, was that new? And I'm like, no, it's been here the whole time.
That was the
How have
first
you
thing
never
that went
seen
up.
that? Yeah. So that was our first big one. We have 2 new ones in the vestibule that we just did and finished about 2 or 3 weeks ago. One is a Dazed and Confused reference, of course, to reinforce our name. And then on the other side,
All right.
we chose Bill and Ted Be Excellent to Each Other. Because we just want to make sure that when people come in here, they know that this is a comfortable and welcoming and safe space for everyone. Yeah.
I love it.
And so that's super important for us. And so we want to just, there's a lot of things going on in the world, and we just want people to know that we want you to come in and have fun and just take a break.
Yeah.
You don't
have to worry about whatever's going on in the outside world.
Right.
Come in, have a beer, talk to your neighbor or a random stranger, whatever it is. I think that's my favorite part about the craft beer community is how open and welcoming it is for the most part, right?
For sure.
Every now and then
Yeah.
you have your extremes, but
Yeah.
willing to share, willing to grow, and just be a part of a community.
It's a beautiful community.
It really is. It really is. Have you noticed any, over the last 5 years or even 6 years or even, as Greg was coming up and learning to brew, significant changes within the industry that has shaped it for better or for worse?
Recently, there's a shift to maybe drinking less or being mindful of how much you're drinking. And so, when we first opened and we were doing sessionable beers, we got scoffed at sometimes. People would come in and they're like, where's your 7, 8, 9% double IPAs? And we're like, we don't have that. That's not what we want to do.
Right.
And so we had some people leave because of that. And that's fine. We can't, support everyone or have everybody like everything we do. But it's interesting now to finally feel like people are kind of going in that direction.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of nice to know that people are starting to appreciate that a little bit more. We've started playing with even lower ABV beers.
Awesome.
So we've had 2.5% beers on, an English mild, and we have a Belgian table beer on right now.
Wow.
And then in January of this last year, we did our first NA for Dry January. So we did 2 batches of that. We're going to do another one for this upcoming January. And it's nice to have that on tap, a lot of you go into a lot of places have a can
It's not
NA, but having it on draft is different. And
It's
so,
huge.
yeah, it's nice for people to feel that inclusion.
But
So,
there was the issue for a long time with how do you brew an NA and keg it?
yeah.
How did you guys get over that hurdle? Because I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like the alcohol wasn't
So, yeah.
killing everything, I guess. I don't know
So
the
we
right way
don't
to put it.
pasteurize it. We can't pasteurize it because we don't have one, but we don't can it either. So we just keep it on tap in kegs, and we check it regularly to make sure that we don't do growlers of it. You can't get it to go, period, just because we can't keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
And the yeast that he uses, he got from Inland Island, and I'm not the brewer, so I don't have the specifics.
Yeah, so we're brewing a very low gravity wort to start with, using a lot of oats, wheat, high protein malt that'll increase the body. And then we're using so it starts about 4 Plato, somewhere around there. And then we are using a maltose negative strain of yeast, meaning it doesn't consume the maltose sugar inside of the wort. It basically will consume fructose and some other simple sugars, enough to create some fermentation characteristics, create some ester formation, things like that. It's a wild yeast that's found on apples, which is why it consumes fructose. And then that gets us below 0.5% alcohol. And then we have to use some stabilizers to make sure, because there is still a decent amount of sugar in that liquid. So to make sure that no other fermentation happens and it's safe for consumption.
I think that plays even more into the inclusivity, right? Like you have an NA, you have low. It's always been a sessionable aspect, but they're great beers. They're really good. And I think that's my favorite part about, I love beer. Obviously, we wouldn't be here. I love to drink beer, but I love the lower ABV. Like I said, I just got back from this trip, and I never saw anything above 5%. If I did, I had to really look for it.
Sure.
But there was milds, there was pale ales, there was sour. It makes sense. But
Sure.
but IPAs and
Right.
nothing above that, and they're good, delicious, crisp, bitter. If you like that,
Right.
awesome beers. So I feel like you're in a really good spot, kind of ahead of the game in that respect, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's just teaching people that we can still make flavorful, bold beers,
Oh my
but
gosh.
they don't have to knock you on your feet.
Right,
You know,
right. And
so.
there was a time and place.
Right? It's really just the extra warming. Otherwise, there's no reason you can't get those flavors. You're
Right.
just missing on that
Exactly.
bit of that warming burn.
But even with this one, I get it a little bit. I'm a little warm at the moment, but it's very subtle.
Sure, sure.
Side thing, I'm always like sweating through these, but
I also feel a little sweaty, but I think that's just
I left the other day and I was just like, take it off. I love I like that, it's kind of a family. It starts from family, right?
Yeah.
You're a family. You've got your sister helping out, family help, name it. And I feel like you're really embraced coming in. And I think that sets up a really good vibe for people.
I mean, we've made a lot of friends in here too. And my favorite part is hearing customers that are now friends from meeting here. There's two couples that live a couple blocks away. They live across the street and a block down from each other. They met here at one of our events and they're like best friends now.
Yeah.
That's kind of my favorite part. I love seeing the people that come in. I love knowing their names. I love knowing their dogs' names, their kids, what they like to drink. Just kind of knowing what's going on in their lives, especially with all the things that people have gone through in the 5 years that we've been open.
Sure.
Just knowing that people have a community space to come hang out in that's all that really matters to us.
Yeah.
So.
I think it helps keep things a little bit smaller too,
Sure.
right? Not even like a control, but it's just this great big world inside. To the outside world, a little tiny bubble, right?
Yeah.
But it's not, because people can come and go. And you said you have there's quite a few Airbnbs here on Tennis. And have you ever had reviews that are left of people coming in that have also picked up on that type of feeling?
Oh, I mean, gosh, I'm sure. There's the Berkeley Hotel that's right across the street, and we've had people come in multiple times during their stay, which I think is really cool. Our staff is super welcoming. We have a small crew. I'm behind the bar a lot.
Yeah.
So people not only get a chance to know each other, but they get to know us. I mean, we're always looking for new things to do. We are, dipping our toe into distribution, not something we ever really wanted to do, but just kind of one of those things that makes sense.
Sure.
So that's something we're playing with. We have this new, we call it the Coaster Club.
Okay.
It is our version of a mug club.
Okay.
So you get all the perks as a normal mug clubber membership, but it's a 3D printed coaster that some of our regulars made for us, and then you get to choose your favorite pop culture icon when you sign up, and we Photoshop your face on that person. And then when you come in, you get to have your coaster, and at the end of the year, you get to keep it, and we'll do like a annual members party where everybody gets to hang out. And so it's been fun lately to see like people are like, oh, that's Mariah Carey, or oh, that's Ned Flanders, or whatever it is. So not only do they know each other by their real names, but now they're starting to know each other by their coaster names. And it's just kind of reinforcing our pop culture thing, but also reinforcing the community aspect of it too. And that's been kind of fun. We have our pie pairing that we do every November's first Friday with Legacy Pie. It's perfect pie season.
Oh, yeah.
People haven't had too much yet from Thanksgiving, so they're like ready for it.
Right.
First Fridays are always great on Tennyson. So First Fridays on Tennyson were always a chance to showcase different art and artists. And unfortunately, we've lost a lot of art galleries on the street, but we still swap out the art every month.
Awesome.
And give artists a place to hang and sell and showcase their pieces.
Love that.
And then since beer is our art, we always release a new beer on First Friday as well.
Wow.
So we do that year round. In the summertime, we close down the parking lot, do music, all of that stuff too. But in the winter, it's a little.
This November first Friday.
November is going to be our Munich Helles.
Yay.
We'll be coming to the taps. December's will be our Dunkel, which is one of my favorite beers.
It's a great beer.
And then I think January we'll definitely have a new version of our NA and probably something else too.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. A lot of exciting stuff coming up. I feel like there's always something down here.
Try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. If I'd never been here before, outside of it's a great space to come and be, it's super comfortable, it's super welcoming, the beers are full of flavor, crisp, delicious. What should I know if I've never been here before?
It's a great question. Just that you might try a beer you've never thought would be something you'd try. We always like to try and have something a little bit different. Our honey lager on right now is delicious. In the summer, we have that cucumber basil sour that's amazing. I guess you might just meet one of your new best friends.
I love that.
You know, you'll see a bunch of dogs. We love dogs.
Digs.
Yeah, it's just, might find your new favorite beer and a new friend.
I love that.
So.
I love that. So there is a bit of a shift as well in the industry to more consistency, right? Like I know what I like. I want my favorite beer. You do a lot of good styles. Do you see yourself maybe just having more flagship versus experimental?
It's a good question. So we have started with 5. We actually just added a 6 as a consistent one because we get asked for it a lot, which is our Jasmine Rice Lager. So our flagships are the Rice Lager, our German Pilsner, the Coffee Blonde, Blackberry Sour, Peace, Love, and Pale Ale, which is my personal favorite, and then Dope IPA. So I think it's important to still switch things up quite a bit, especially being in a neighborhood. We don't want the people to be like, oh, they have the same beers on all the time. But I think what we have started doing is bringing back ones that we know people have enjoyed in the past.
Sure.
So it might not always be on, but it is still that consistent beer that they've had in the past, and they know that they like it.
Right. The example is the cucumber base, right?
Exactly.
In the summer, we put this on. I think that's a great way to kind of balance that and still get people excited about stuff coming.
Yeah, our Munich Helles we've done before. So our Dunkel we've done, but it's been a few years since we've done it. We have a Schwartz beer we bring back, a cold IPA.
I can't imagine what culture reference you pin on that one.
Which one?
The Schwartz.
Oh, you might be surprised on that one, but
I definitely went to Spaceball.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's always sunny in Philadelphia. It's
over my head, but it's right up Sam's
The
alley.
Nightman Cometh is our Schwartz beer. Yeah.
How many taps do you have?
We have 13.
13? Okay.
So 6 flagships, and then our Coffee Blonde is always on nitro, which is kind of fun too.
Absolutely.
So smooth, creamy option.
It looked pretty amazing.
It's pretty tasty. Won an award at GABF last year in 2023.
And then you've got a couple World Beer Cup awards up there as well.
We do. Yeah. So our Rice Lager was our first one.
Okay.
Atari's Lantern. And then You're a Funny Guy is our Italian Pilsner. Is another one.
Yeah.
We like, naming our beers. It's quite fun. The tiramisu stout you're drinking is an offer you can't refuse. Just the Godfather.
Yeah. I need to watch more movies.
The honey lager is Animal Strike Curious Poses, which was kind of a little collaboration with a good customer of ours. Her and Greg both turned 40 this year.
Awesome.
And so how did they do it? So Greg picked 3 beer styles. She picked 3 beer names.
Okay.
And then they decided together on which one to do.
I love that.
And so Animal Strike Curious Poses was the #1 song by Prince in 1984, which was the year they were born.
Awesome.
So, yeah, there's a lot of
I have to listen to that song.
little
No.
nuggets of information.
Do you often then, when picking names for beers, are you starting with the beer first, then going to the name? Or how often do you get that interaction with, the people coming in, your regulars, your friends?
Our regulars, she's probably the first one to name one regular. Our staff has named a couple. I finally just named my first one like this year. Today was a good day from Ice Cube.
Sure.
West Coast IPA. It's delicious. That one will be back. So we have like a running list of names we'd like to use. Yeah. And so depending on what we want to brew, we usually kind of figure out the style we want to brew first and then see what name kind of fits or do it around, trying to make sense. Yeah. So we have one on right now called Now and Forever. It's our fresh hop IPA.
Okay.
We release it in September, which is the month Greg and I got married.
Okay.
And we did a hop planting ceremony at our wedding. And so it's kind of like a little like nod to like, our history. But yeah, I mean, there's just lots of little fun things.
Yeah.
I love that. Outside of the flagships are, the filling the other taps, is it more seasonal based on events coming up, trends? What you
probably
feel like?
both, all three of those things.
Yeah.
What do we feel like? We do try to keep such a wide variety of beers on. And so if we are running out of one, say we're running out of a West Coast, like, okay, we need to do another one. Or maybe we fill that gap with a cold IPA or something like that. We always have a lot of lagers on. Right now we have 5, which I think is great. 4 of them are light.
Absolutely.
We have another one coming. So I think it's just trying to make sure that we have a couple sours, a couple malties, a couple, hoppy options.
Sure.
Season change and all that stuff definitely comes into play as well.
Last but not least, if you could be any beer in the world, what beer would you be and why? They all, yeah.
So any like style or particular beer?
Whichever you want.
Dealer's choice.
Okay, so if I could do a style, I'd probably do like light lager, of course. But if I was going to be any beer in the world, I might be Coors Banquet.
Oh.
I'm a Colorado native.
Yeah.
It's a classic beer.
Yeah.
It's just one of those beers that if you can't find something on tap or on draft that you want, you're like, well, I'll get a Banquet.
Yeah.
Why not?
It really is.
It's gonna be the spot.
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest thing is, it's your story. And we're so happy that you took the time to sit with us, chat with us, share your beer with us.
Absolutely. Thanks
obviously
for
we're big
thinking of
fans.
us and
Absolutely.
letting me share our story,
Absolutely.
So.
We're excited to be here. We're excited you're here. So thank you.
Thanks.
I love walking into a place that you can just feel the passion when you walk in, and you can just tell that there's these stories. And you just walk in, and you're like, this place has so much love, and I feel like this place does that for sure. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. We love what we do. We don't have any regrets about it. It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but it's also the most rewarding. So you can't get much better than that.
I feel like that gets brought up all the time. The harder it is, often, the most times it's worth doing. Right?
For sure.